Thanks, Jim. My name is Hugh Bryan. I spent 30 years with the Border Patrol and the old Immigration Service. I'm an immigrant to the United States myself. Ed Meese, I served as Chief of the Border Patrol during President Reagan's watch. And Ed Meese had said to me on a couple of occasions, "You're the only permanent resident alien that I know that is Chief of the Border Patrol, and it can be only in America." I always remember that, and that's over 25 years ago. I went to work for the U.S. Border Patrol in '59 as a patrol agent. I worked my way up to Chief of Deportation in '78 until '86. And when Buck Brandemule retired, Commissioner Nelson appointed me Chief of the Border Patrol. And I served until 1989 when I retired. I've served 7 presidents of the United States in my term with the Border Patrol and with immigration. I'm very proud of that. Since then, I've spent nearly 20 years working on various immigration projects. I've traveled the world looking at other immigration problems, and like the rest of us here, like these 3 gentlemen here, I'm speaking from hard-won experience in dealing with immigration problems. I did my time on the Mexican border, and I know what happens down there. The current Senate bill 1348 is a travesty, in my opinion. It's a sellout, in my view. It's a complete betrayal of the nation. As I speak, there are presently hundreds of thousands of folks from Latin America, from China, from the Middle East, you name it, waiting to enter the U.S. illegally. They already have paid the smugglers, believe me, I know. And they've made arrangements for smugglers to take them across the borders, provide them either with fraudulent documents to enter ports of entry. They're just waiting for the word, amnesty. The American people have been told that this bill is not an amnesty bill, yet the fact is it allows millions of illegal aliens to assume residence in this country because they broke our laws to get here. The number commonly heard is 12 million. However, there's credible studies out there that indicate there may be as many as 20 million. This is a slap on the face to the million of legal immigrants like myself who came on the boat and waited and processed at the American consulate abroad and came in legally and served the United States in the military, came back from Korea and joined the Border Patrol. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud of my country, but I'm not proud of this bill. In 1986, during my watch, Buck Brandemule was the chief up to 1986. And I followed Buck as Chief of the Border Patrol. So I was here in Washington as Chief of the Border Patrol when IRCA was enacted. It was a travesty. Senators Kennedy and Schumer, the same guys who are pushing it today, said at the time, amnesty would be a one-time only cure-all. Well, let me tell you, fraud was rampant. And our masters, our mandarins said, after a few years, it diminished, and we were not allowed to really pursue many of these cases. Honestly, we just don't know how many illegals are in our country. In terms of numbers and consequence expense to the nation and our people, this amnesty is a pig in the poke, conceived in secrecy. And we are supposed to trust the senators pushing this bill, that it's a good bill. Frankly, based on my years of experience and what I know about immigration, it's a disastrous bill. With so much emphasis now on homeland security since 9/11, I worry a great deal about illegal entry of other than Mexicans that we call in the business OTMs. And you've seen that, I'm sure, in the paper. I'm sure you've read about the potential terrorists that are scoping out Fort Dix, New Jersey recently, did you notice that the report said that 2 of them were illegal aliens who had entered across the Mexican border? They are certainly not the only ones. How about the 4 that had been identified as plotting to blow up JFK Airport? OTMs are a good reason to stay awake at night. No one knows how many there are, where they come from, and where they are now. And worst of all, we don't know what they're up to, and they can hurt us badly. Mexican citizens constitute about half of the illegal alien problem. We cannot focus on solving the problem of illegal immigration without directly addressing Mexico, the Mexicans, and the Mexican government, in my view. That is not racism. It's just a fact based on sheer numbers. That is particularly so since, unlike other governments, the Mexican government supports this invasion, and I've seen it down there on the border, and for reasons that we'll explore. The government of Mexico provides maps and other documents to the nationals to facilitate them breaking into our country. In schools, it teaches them that large areas of the U.S. were stolen from Mexico. They are told throughout their lives that they have an uncontestable right to enter the U.S. and stay as long as they wish. Check out the numbers of Mexican vice consuls and Mexican foreign ministry personnel in the United States. In fact, some of you may have noticed they just opened a new office in, of all places, Arkansas. Now, why did they do that? Now, you probably are aware there's probably a lot of illegals in Arkansas. And compare the number of foreign ministry Mexican officials there are in the U.S. to the number of foreign service officers that the U.S. has in Mexico, and you'll see what I mean. These consular officials are here to issue the matricula consular. It's a Mexican identification document that assists their people to insinuate themselves into our system. Last year, there was 21 billion reasons for the Mexican government to help its people break our laws. 21 billion. That's dollars. That's what they send home to their folks in Mexico. So why would not the government of Mexico help and assist their people to come to the United States, if albeit illegally? That is the amount of dollars sent back to Mexico by their people working up here, and that number grows annually. A second, less obvious reason, in my view, is that as long as ambitious, energetic Mexicans leave Mexico, their government does not have to provide for them. In fact, those very people are the sort who, when things look hopeless, there's no escape, they become reactionaries. The U.S. has been the safety valve for Mexico for as long as I've been in the Border Patrol, and even before that. And you talk to any Border Patrolman, he'll tell you the same thing. And it's time to stop it, to cut off this safety valve. Mexico must solve its own internal problems and create a good place to live for its citizens, and not have them risk their lives crossing the border in search of work and being aided and abetted by the government. I came from Ireland in the early 50s, and we were a very poor country, and I was in a blue-collar area, and we were leaving. I remember leaving Cove, and there was 3,000 or so on the boat, and we were all 18 to 21 years old. But we came in legally. We did not break the laws. We did not go to the head of the queue, and that's what's happening now. And that's what this bill wants to do, make all these people who are here illegally ahead of the millions who are waiting patiently outside the United States. My own brother-in-law, who waited 7 years in Ireland to get a visa because I would not have it any other way. Finally, as a legal alien and a naturalized U.S. citizen with with a great love for this great republic, and having worked here as a young man on the Mexican border and often in harm's way, I can say I bring an honest and realistic perspective to this critical issue. Thank you.